Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the RAW Barbell Club podcast, Isolation Edition. I'm in a new studio space, which is my parents' house because I have moved back here because I set up a home gym here. And I'm joined today by Chris Ackland, the owner of Iron Tribe Weightlifting in Carrum Downs, Victoria. How you doing, man?
Cool, man. How are you? You did your research.
I did. Hey, Yannick. Oh, also, guys, for those that are listening to this and they might be curious as to hearing us talk to people in the background, it's because we're also doing this live over Instagram. So this is the first live RAW Barbell Club podcast as well.
It's pretty exciting. Go, man.
Exciting.
Mine might drop out. My Instagram has it stops me from going over half an hour. So in 5 minutes, it might be like, I might drop out for a split second, but I'll come back.
That's all right. I'll do this. I think the same thing happens to me too. So I might have to go and come back. How are you finding training in isolation?
Really tough. I'm used to training by myself, but normally I'm used to training by myself with the expectation that people will come in towards the tail end of my session. But probably this week I've actually started to find a bit more of the rhythm. And I'm just going to experiment with my training for a little bit, just do some more general style training. I'll still snatch and clean and jerk maybe once a week, but yeah. And my goal is to move up a weight class anyway, so I should just be bodybuilding and squatting and pulling all the time, but yeah, it's just boring.
Sets of 10.
Yeah, sets of 10. I always get to sets of 8 and I'm like, surely and your coach brain kicks in, starts justifying, yeah, it's perfect amount of stimulus right there, I don't need to go anymore, it's 8 RPE. Yeah.
Yannick, I can see what you're saying. I'm just going to choose to ignore it.
I completely agree with the first part of that sentence.
What was it like? So for those that don't know, we are in isolation right now because you might be listening to this in the future where everyone's dead anyway. But right now,
The zombies are around.
We're all in lockdown. It's government mandated that all gyms close. So both Chris and I have closed our gyms. Yannick as well, who's listening. Josh too, if he's still here. We've closed our gyms and we're kind of just, in limbo business-wise, in a lot of ways. But personally, we also enjoy the sport of weightlifting. We enjoy training, and it's tough to it's a bitter pill to swallow because we've set up these really cool gyms that we're very proud of, that we love training at, and now we don't get to go there. How are you finding that?
Yeah, well, it's been so much fun. I've been loving every minute of it. It's hard. Like we were kind of hit left of field, but we weren't hit left of field. Like we've got a few, we've got a scientist, a couple of doctors, and some nurses at our gym, and for about a week before, maybe 2 weeks before, they were preparing us. They're like, hey, just, you should start probably preparing to not have a gym in the next 2 weeks. And so we were really organized, so much so that when the lockdown announcement came that was going to happen on Tuesday, on Monday, we just closed the gym already. And we had all the kits ready for people to borrow. And so it was good in that regard. And 90% of people are probably still training, which is cool. We've always done remote programming, so that it was a relatively easy transition. The hard part is I'm a people person. Like I could talk to myself for hours. Just someone saying,
talk to yourself.
Yeah, as in like I just ask all my clients. I could talk underwater. Like I'm that coach that like they ask a question on like why 70%, and then I'll go back through the history of something, and it'll go way too deep. So the hardest part for me has been that community interaction. Like you said before, like I built it because I wanted a place like that to train, and there was nothing like that. I found that there was nothing like that, and so that's probably been the hardest part. Is like we still do our Zoom classes. Like we'll jump on, and we can have like anywhere from 5 to 10 people on at the same time training, but it isn't the same. Like it's cool, it's fun, but having that ability to high five someone and then not have to like disinfect your hands afterwards is something that I miss for sure.
It's crazy time, dude. Crazy time. Tell me, like, 'cause we've bumped into each other once or twice, but we don't know each other that well. So can you tell me how you started in weightlifting?
So yeah, probably similar to you. I and Josh, like I was doing CrossFit for a little bit. I'm a little guy, wanted to get better at CrossFit, so I figured I'd get stronger. And then I did a Donnie Schenkel seminar because I was coaching CrossFit at the time, and I was like, I need to learn more.
So when he was here?
Yeah, when he was here, like 2013. And then listening to him talk about weightlifting, I was like, oh my God, this is the sport for me. And that was kind of it. I just dove headfirst into it. And I still worked out of the CrossFit box I was out of, and the business kind of started out of there. But it was mainly predominantly one-on-ones and like classes which were run through the CrossFit box I was at. And then slowly started at my garage. Oh, 1 second. Ignore limit for today. I'm back. And then it just cut out, sorry. And then, yeah, just kind of grew from there. Like we started in my garage. And then next minute we're in a factory, and then the next minute the factory's getting shut down. So probably, yeah, similar story to yourself, I reckon.
So how long were you in the factory unit? How long were you in your garage for?
Probably only about a year, but we were out of the CrossFit box for around 2 years. The downside was the CrossFit box was 45 minutes from where I decided to open up a gym. So everyone that started in my garage was all brand new. I had a couple people that came down with me, but 45 minutes is a long way to drive. So, like some people did make the trip, but obviously, like it was only going to last so long before you're like 45 minutes each way for a 90-minute session. It's just not feasible.
Yeah, it's really tough. So you were in the CrossFit box first, then your garage, and now you open the. So how long have you been in your current space for?
Factory, we've been in, what's the date? So in May, I think May 25th, it's 2 years we've been in the factory.
Oh, cool. So it's very similar to Josh.
Yeah, very similar time. Yeah, so when he was working out of someone's boxing gym when I was working out of my garage, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I guess my story is like more similar to Josh's. I was in a CrossFit gym and I opened up RAW there, and then we eventually got kicked out of the CrossFit gym, and that's how we ended up in our own space, and that was 3 years ago.
How come you got kicked out? Just too much fun?
Too much fun, yeah. No, I guess we just outgrew it. Just same thing with
yeah,
like what Josh said.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was.
But did you?
Yeah, you go.
Did you outgrow your garage, or were you just like always planning on setting up?
I just bounced backwards and forwards. So, to help get the factory, I started when I left my CrossFit box job. I started working, building buses for like 6 months during the day. There's a weird story.
Building buses?
Yeah. I was.
How do you build a bus?
Well, I was building the roof of the bus. I put the air conditioner on the roof of the bus. So I got that job for 6 months because it all came about where I'd proposed to my fiance, and I was like, I didn't want to keep working at the box I was working at, and I was trying to figure out a way that I could make the jump to my own facility. But because I was like that 45 minutes away, I needed to build clients up in the area first. And so I said to a mate randomly, if someone could give me a job where I could just get paid till 3:30 and then I could come home and coach, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'll give you a job. And so like for the next 6 to 7 months, I did that. And then classes started, and like my coach now was my first client in the garage, Grace. Like we started a membership, and we did outgrow it. Like we had training every night of the week, but we only probably had about 12 members before my garage, because my car's, it's a single car garage. Like there's only 2 places to snatch or clean and jerk. And then we had a platform built outside, which obviously during winter did not work. So the plan was like, we were going to tear the garage down and build a bigger one and have like four platforms. And then we figured, why not? We'll just throw the dice and we'll see what happens. If it doesn't work, we can always come back to the garage or move to a bigger house and build a bigger garage. And it just kept growing and getting better and better.
How big is your gym?
It's pretty small. So it's 170 square meters, including the office space. And the office is like almost a quarter of it, I should say.
So how many platforms do you have?
Well, we're similar setup to you. We've got the long platforms. We can probably have about 6 bars at any given time on one side. And then on the opposite side where the rig is, we've got 4 mini platforms that people can lift at. But we might end up moving those rigs away and getting flat pack squat racks because we don't really need. Originally, I got it because I wanted to teach people muscle ups and stuff like that, like strict gymnastics accessories.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, it's like floor space is king for a weightlifting gym.
It's just like, wall space is king for a CrossFit gym.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for the pull-up bars. But it's probably perfect. Like everyone says, without grow it. Everyone says, but I don't like. I'd rather it be full. I'm not moving to. I've seen too many CrossFit boxes make the same mistake of like, oh, we've got 100 members. Let's go to this bit space twice the size. Oh God, we've lost 20 members and we've got twice the overheads. Like, so we plan on keeping it small. My eventual plan was to like cap membership around the 100, 120 mark and then look for other ways of making money. Because I like my community. I like being able to walk into the gym, know everyone's name. Like I don't want to have this facility where I walk in and I'm like, who's that guy? Introduce myself. He's been training there for 3 months. So yeah.
How many members do you have currently?
We probably have around 41 to 45 depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So
do you do like once a weekers and twice a weekers and stuff like that?
So our small membership's 3 days a week. You can do drop-ins, and we've probably got we've got about 40 members. Before this, we had about 40 members in the gym. We had about 5 to 6 remote in a couple of different states, and then we had about 30 odd drop-ins. It'll just 1 week all 30 could come, and then another week 0 could come.
Yeah.
And they're predominantly like CrossFitters or PTs or strength coaches just looking to kind of learn more.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's a cool little space. 170, like, that's enough, I reckon.
Yeah, it's like, we could potentially have, if people share bars, you could have 16 people lifting at the same time without too much worry. And we also do it slightly different. Like, we run classes as well. So we run 90-minute classes as opposed to coached open gym. Yeah, which is what we do. We do coached open gym. Is that how Josh runs as well? Yeah, Josh does coached open gym too,
Yeah. And that's something that I don't regret setting it up like that, but I often wonder whether that's the smartest way of doing it.
It's hard, like, I figured most gyms are similar in terms of it's either coached open gym or it's open gym and, like a classic weightlifting club, the coach just kind of walks around helping out and could have 40 athletes in there at a time depending on the club. I figured I like being in control. I like having a set start time and a set finish time. So then that way, like, whether you're a beginner or you're an advanced, you're still warming up together. And there's still ways to have that, I really enjoyed coaching CrossFit. The positivity of the community, like, the coach can dictate a lot with regards to like how people interact, how people talk, and the general vibe of the place. And I always had this feeling that our Saturdays are coached open gym, and they're fun and people enjoy them because they can come and do anything. But I think kind of limiting people's choices to a certain extent also gives them more consistency and gives you more consistency as a business owner as well, because the 9:30 class averages 3 people. What do I need to do to build that back up? Or yeah,
I see that because looking at your timetable, your classes aren't every day. For example, like Tuesday, Thursday, I think you only have one class at 6 p.m. So that structure really leaves you a lot of freedom to be like, okay, so this is where everyone's going to have to come in, especially when you're a newer gym too, because that was a problem that
100% taking a class with one person in it.
Yeah, and I've done that before. Like I've showed up at 6 a.m. to because my gym's open 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the mornings, and then in the afternoon 4:30 to 7:30. So I've showed up to 6 a.m. woken up early, got there, and then no one's turned up, and then you're just like, damn, this was a waste of time. But it takes a long time to build it up to the point where you're like, you show up and there's a bunch of people there and it's good.
It's funny, when I first started it, I was almost going to roll out the classic 5:30 a.m, 9:30 a.m, 4:30 that thing, and then we had about 11 members, and all of our 11 members trained at the exact same time together in my garage at 6 o'clock, I think it was, and there was a 4:30 option, which was mainly just a couple of guys doing strength and conditioning, not weightlifting. And I was I had a conversation with a guy who helped me a lot in the start when we were starting the business, and he was like, run the classes you think will have, a minimum of like 2 to 3 people in it, and then don't add classes until those classes are full. And so originally we just had 6 p.m. every night of the week, and we had 9:30 a.m. 3 days a week and 11:30 a.m. 3 days a week. Because Tuesday, Thursdays, I coach at a school, so I take strength conditioning at a school, and so that gives me an opportunity to make income elsewhere. And then I didn't have coaches at the start to help cover classes or anything, so it kind of worked out not too bad. And then I'm so thankful we didn't start that early AM session. Like, I'm not an early AM person anyway. And I do know that that'll be busy because, before and after work is where it's going to be at. But we started at 6 p.m. They started getting like 16, 17 people to it. So then we introduced the 4:30, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then that split it to like 10 and 10. And then when that fills up again, that's when I'll probably introduce 5:30 a.m. And Grace, my coach, has she's already said that she's more of a morning person than a night person. So that could work out real well for both of us. Yeah.
Are you a morning person or are you a night person?
I'm probably more of a night person.
Same.
Yeah, like I think I worked at the box I was at. I worked there for like 4.5, maybe but probably about 4.5 years, and I took like 6 5:30 a.m. classes in that 4.5 years. Yeah.
So when I first started, so sorry, Gareth, we missed your what you noted. You said coach classes, man, we all suffer and have fun together. I agree, dude. There's certain pluses and minuses to both approaches. I really like the idea of the camaraderie that like actual coach sessions give you. Like, not that my sessions aren't coached, but that classes give you, because everyone's suffering at the same time. But that being said, you can have camaraderie through different approaches if you do an open gym style. Anyway, back to what I was saying was when I first started PTing, coaching, all of those things, the one thing I told myself is that I will never ever do early morning sessions. And then I ended up doing all the early morning sessions. And that's funny, but what's really, really bad is now that the gym's closed, my routine has thrown off so much because I've just gone back to like my natural
sleep in, go to bed
sleep
late.
cycle. Yeah, so like I'm like waking up at like 9:30, which I feel great doing that. Like I'm getting a lot of sleep, I feel healthy, but I'm not as productive because I'm not waking up early, or at least I don't feel as productive.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'd like to be more of a morning person. Like, my fiance is pregnant at the moment, and I think.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's both exciting and petrifying at the same time. And so I feel like my routine will have to shift. I'm so used to training in the middle of the day when no one's around, but that'll potentially have to be train in the morning right before my first class. My first class is 9:30, so it's not bad, but like train at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then go straight home at 1 o'clock. So I'm there when the baby wakes, I'm there at lunchtime. But I
key moments.
What's that? The key moments.
That's the key moments.
100%, yeah. And then the next goal is like trying to balance how many nights do I take the classes and mix up with the mornings, so that way I can be there for bath time and for bedtime, and yeah.
And you also want to be there for like you don't want to not show up for early morning members because then they never get to see you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Sorry, my computer just fell to my feet from somewhere.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I understand. So what? I guess you found weightlifting through CrossFit. You started coaching weightlifting because you fell in love with Donnie Shankle and all of that. Was it the way that he sort of philosophized about weightlifting that you liked?
Yeah, I loved it. I grew up playing team sports. I grew up playing sports just in general, and when I finished playing football, I was kind of looking for something, which is what brought me to CrossFit. Was that training in a team environment mentality? But the downside that I didn't like to it was the structure. And weightlifting is so structured predominantly, and the way that he kind of talked about it was like, it's almost like a martial art to a certain extent. You're just shaving the sword every single day, just trying to get that little bit better. And even now, when competing now, I don't train as hard or as often as I should because I always prioritize business first. It still gives me something that I can consider myself an athlete. Like, I still get to compete. I still get to
it helps me make better decisions around nutrition, around sleep, because I'm like, oh, I am gonna train tomorrow, hopefully, so I better go to bed earlier. I better eat better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just the way that he put it made it sound just like something I wanted to be a part of. Like the whole process thing was, yeah, hadn't heard training be put that way before, and I trained for 6 or 7 years at that point, and it was just, yeah, I'd never heard it before. So yeah,
Do you make like your do you talk about this kind of stuff like what like so if anyone hasn't ever checked out a Donny Shankel video, he has some like amazing
yeah.
YouTube videos, and I implore everyone to go check it out. But do you talk to your clients and athletes in that way, or do you sort of just like cut and dry like, hey, you need to pull
Well,
strength?
like again, like the something that I've had to work on hard is not giving the backstory to everything. Uh, but
Yeah,
yeah, like I always talk about it because I want them to be inspired as I am inspired by it. Half our
yeah,
population, I think they don't necessarily care about snatching and clean and jerking. It's just a part of the training. They enjoy the community. They rock up. It inspires them to keep coming. But and then there's the other half who like they're sending me videos of like, oh my god, have you seen this Cal Strength video from? I was like, hell's yeah, man, that's my that's my jam. Uh,
I've watched every
yeah,
single coronavirus. Don't
yeah,
scare
yeah.
me.
Um, and so yeah, 100%. Like I always talk to them about like even like I'll send them like there's the powerlifter. Have you heard of Calgary Barbell on YouTube? I'll
No,
send you
I
after
haven't.
this. There's a documentary called The Powerlifter. If you just change everything that
Yeah.
he's saying to do with the squat, bench, and dead to snatch, clean, and jerk, it's a weightlifter. And so, like, I'll be sending them videos like that. That's super inspiring. You know, it's a guy who's had to overcome whether it be injury or life getting in the way of becoming the best athlete that he can be. Um, so, 100%, I always talk to him like that. Like, even you saw the video I put up yesterday of our last heavy session before.
Yeah, I love that
Okay.
video.
I watched it like 12 times yesterday because I was trying to amp myself up the train. um,
I love videos like that. So I watched it, and straight away I was like, oh, this is sick. And then afterwards I was like, I really need to get on top of making some videos again. I've fallen off
you
the
do it for like
wagon.
2 weeks, you put them out in that first few days, and then you stop for 6 months. So
Yeah.
like that day, like trying to say things like because I think of myself as a coach more than an athlete, and trying to say things that don't sound cheesy but do inspire people and do remind people that they like how far they have come, and like that.
Like what can you give me an example of something you said on that last day?
Like it was. I hope if I can remember, it was like pretty much along the lines of like this is why we do.
I love you. Please
Yeah,
come
yeah.
back.
Well, we didn't know at that stage we were getting shut down just yet. Like it was, yeah, hey guys,
Yeah.
like this is potentially like our last heavy day together. Could be our last training session together, like as a big group for a long time. Um, like this is why we do weightlifting, right? And this is why, like, if we are shut down, we will be coming back together to kind of do this again. Um, it's like it's such an alone sport, but it's like a solo sport or whatever you call it, individual sport. But like you said, like even if you're not training in a class and you're training in a coached open gym environment, there is that camaraderie because people are suffering together. They're going through the same like, oh, that person's having a bad week today. They can't even hit 60%. The wheels are falling off. The emotions are out. So just always trying to inspire people because it always feels like as a coach you're talking them off the ledge. You're reminding them of how far they've come,
Yeah.
especially because you'll have someone who will be like, "Oh, I can't hit 55 kilos. It's absolute rubbish." And it's like, open your training log and just look back 6 months, and your goal was 50 kilos, and now you're only hitting it once a week as opposed to you was it, yeah,
Once every four
exactly.
weeks.
So, just trying to like instill that belief because it's also like the sport of weightlifting is just unforgiving. Like it just takes your soul from you more ways than of any other sport I've ever done in my life. Like it doesn't reward just beating yourself up and smashing yourself into the ground. Like it rewards that kind of like patience, that slow burn, as opposed to like who can train the hardest, the heaviest, the most often. And yeah, just trying to like slow people down when they come into the sport and remind them that like this is a marathon. Like um, the slower you take it initially, probably the longer and the further you'll train for. And me and Josh were talking yesterday about uh, how do we keep people interested in the sport when there is no sport? And that's all I feel like I've been preparing my athletes for is like I don't talk people into not competing, but as a business owner, when people compete for the first time, there's a lull straight after that first competition because you've had this big high, you potentially hit big PBs, and then you come back into the gym and you can't hit 80%. Like you're just frazzled. And then motivation starts to wane. And like as a business owner, as a coach, it's hard to watch someone go through that from a financial perspective, but also from like a mental perspective. So you've got to prepare them for that. Like, cool, what happens after a big peak? There's a big trough. And so, yeah, it's such a funny sport. And preparing people for it is, I feel like that's the main job that a coach does is the mental side of it, as opposed to pick that weight up, put it down type thing.
So give me an example of like a conversation you would have with that athlete that, hey, like we're gonna compete in 5 weeks, or even better yet, let's say they're not competing, they just want to get through a training cycle. You say, look, at the end of this training cycle, we're gonna hit some big lifts. Now the week after that, or the 2 weeks after that, look, I'm probably gonna be pretty trash. Like, let's be honest. Is that the conversation that
Kinda,
you
yeah.
have,
Like, but I
or
feel like they don't. The first time they go through it, they just don't hear you, right? Like they just see that
yeah,
big number at the back of their mind, or they even set a goal that's unreasonable, which you as a coach have to be like, no, like yeah, maybe you might snatch 106 months, but took me 2 years. So like I suppose it's the conversation would normally just depend on the person, like encouraging them to be like, cool, like use your training diary, write down like we have like normally it's like it's silly, but I tell them in their training diary to put a smiling face, a neutral face, or an unhappy face with the lift or with
yeah,
the actual exercise itself, because people like we always have in our memory, especially if there's no video of it. Oh, I hit 88 kilos or I hit 70 kilos. And one, you don't remember how it felt. Two, you don't remember how it looked. So you'll always build it up in your memory. Like, oh, yeah, I snatched it on the first go. It was really easy. But it could have been your third go. It could have been a near death experience. And then you'll still count that as your best snatch or your best clean and jerk. So when you can't do 1 kilo more than
yeah.
it, you feel like a failure. You feel like you haven't done anything right. And like when you've had a bad day at work and you come in and you can't hit that weight in training, it's like, well, my whole world's ending. Um, and so just always reminding people, cool, let's just take a quick look back down memory lane. When was the last time you hit your PB? Cool. How did it feel? Felt really good. Okay, let's look at your consistency over that last 4 weeks. Oh, you didn't miss a session for 4 weeks in the lead up to that. And if you look at your average weight, it was like 70%. What are we doing now? Oh, well, I've missed every Monday for the last 4 weeks, and I've been almost maxing out every Wednesday, and I just broke up with my partner or whatever it was. And so always just try to,
And I'm in
yeah, you're in
isolation.
isolation. And that's the other thing. I did a video for my guys the other day just talking about, hey guys, like right now for our main lifts, you'll see that I don't normally program percentages. I normally like auto regulate
Yeah,
programming. And it's like I've got them sitting in the 60 to 75% range, 60 to 70% range more often than not. I'm like, now
yeah,
is not the time to be worrying about can you do more each week. Now is the time, like, like I view coaching as like stress management. Like, how is your stress outside of training going to impact your like me stressing you inside of training? And just like reiterating to people, like, if you're worried about your job, if you're worried about your family, like training's not going to feel $1 million when you're trying to snatch 85%. But snatching 50%, 60%, 65% can be really a big confidence booster because you can walk in and just own the weight that's in front of you. So all the conversations I've had over the last few weeks are like, forget about the weight on the bar and just focus on the actual movement. Like when you watch the video before you send it to me through our app, I want you to be proud of the lift that you've sent me. I don't want you to be like, oh, damn it, that looks shit. Chris, tell me why I did it wrong. Just go lighter. We can push the strength lifts, we can push the bodybuilding movements, and we can still feel like we're getting a good workout. But trying to do this neurologically taxing movement when we're already stressed about finances, family, things like that, it's just not going to work. Yeah, that's kind of what I.
and you might, and at the same time, for those that are listening, you might see the opposite. You know, someone like, for example, someone who was a coach as well, who's waking up at 5 a.m. and going to bed super late and stuff like that. This might be a really good time for their training.
100%, and that's 100%.
So that's where we come into the picture
Yeah,
too,
and
right?
that's where it's like you'll see some people where um like they'll start to be like, oh, hang on a second, like when I get 9 hours sleep, my training feels like I'm invincible. And this is the corporate worker who's going to bed at, like you said, 2 o'clock in the morning, waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, trying to get a training session in before they go to the city or something. And that's all I always try and teach people is like, you can't force it. So like, just come in, see where you're at when you're warming up. If you're feeling good, we'll build up a little bit heavier than probably what we've prescribed. If you're feeling average, we'll go a little bit lighter. But the main goal is like why do you train? Like you train to get a little bit better and to have fun. And forcing it and trying to break yourself is never fun. Um,
Yeah.
although in the time when you're trying to max out, that possibility of hitting a PB for 30 seconds before you miss 90%, it's so much fun.
Yeah, it's such a
Such a
good
good
stimulus.
stimulus. Yeah.
Um, so one of your lifters came out, I think last year, yeah, end of last year, and she was training at our
Yeah.
place for a little bit, and she kept a pretty
Yeah.
detailed training log, and I was super impressed because one, I don't do that, and two, none of my lifters do that, and I've never really used training logs because I do come from a CrossFit
Yeah.
background as well. So, can you explain to me what you get your lifters like? Do you coach them through setting up their logs, and then what do you tell them to do with their logs as well?
Yeah. So like for most of my programming, I've made it uber simple in terms of like um, it's a bit different now, but typically speaking, when coaching a class, instead of having 2 sets at 60, 2 sets at 70, 3 sets at 75% or something similar to that, I literally just write whatever the exercise is and the sets and the reps, and it doesn't change for 4 weeks. So then that way, like when I'm coaching them through their training diary, when they open up a book, so let's say it's an A5 book, you can see 4 weeks on the same 2 pages. So, like as a coach, if I'm walking around and I have 10 lifters in a room, I've just got to walk up to their book, see where they were at last week. It might say 20 kilos and an unhappy face. So I roughly know where they're going to be at. Some lifters will write notes as to what the cue is that I or Grace gave them, like, oh, get the knees out of the way or stay over longer, cues like that. But typically, I'll get them just to write in what the sets, the reps are, and the weights that they've done, and then just how they felt doing it. And then some take it a little bit further, and we'll always have at the back or the front of the book what their current maxes are, and we predominantly chase like 3s, 5s, and 8s in squats or something similar to that, like our like rep maxes. And I just always remind them that like if you're lifting with good enough technique and those are moving from training cycle to training cycle, like roughly we'll go back to an 8 RM every 4 months. We'll probably do a 3 RM every 2 to 3 months. If they're slowly creeping up and your technique's good, the snatch and clean and jerk will come with it. But if they're creeping up and your snatch and clean and jerk aren't moving, then we need to focus more on. So it's kind of like it literally I fluked it because originally when we moved into the garage, I was going to have everyone to have an app, and the program was going to come through the app. Um,
Yeah.
and it was going to be a little bit of work, but what ended up happening was I'd write it on the whiteboard, and I suggested to maybe one or two of them, or maybe one of them did it organically, and I really liked the look of it. And then we just, like everything we've done, it started average, and it just got better and better until we've got the system that we've got now. And as a coach, it's almost how I communicate with Grace, and it's how I see myself communicating with other coaches. Is that like if the complex
Yeah.
is like I don't know, snatch high pull plus high hang snatch, and someone can't do it, we can just write overhead squat where that happens. And if I see someone doing overhead squats when they're warming up, I just walk up to the book and I can be like, oh, cool. Clearly, Grace has suggested to this person that they need to do overhead squats or whatever the exercise is. Uh, so it's
Yeah. And that way you can talk to your
Yeah,
coaches as
exactly right.
well.
I can be like, because normally we'll message each other and be like, hey, so and so, like we've got a whole onboarding process which normally sorts all this out. But like, let's say someone's just not getting underneath the barbell, and it's got power snatches programmed 3 times a week. It's like, oh, maybe we'll do high hang snatches. It's a way that I can just walk up to a book and see what they've been doing, um, and I'd be like, oh, cool. I already know that Grace or someone has made that call, and I trust them to make that call. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's one of the things that like like the people who fill out their book the most, um, I have no data, and I'd love to get people's books and actually collect some of the data. But the people who are more consistent with their books tend to make not the best progress, but they tend to make really consistent progress because they're
Yeah.
way more accountable for the weights that they did, how they felt. They know if they felt bad last week and it was 50 kilos, and it's feeling good this week, that 55 or 60 is even potentially there. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. Now you have an app.
no, not mine. I use True Coach for my remote programming.
Oh, okay, all right. So True Coach is like what Fitbot
Yes,
used to
yeah,
be,
yeah,
right?
same thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I thought you had your own app. I was like,
No,
that's fancy,
no, I
man.
wish. I've got fancy spreadsheets, but I stopped using them a long time ago.
Yeah, so we're modifying our process right now. I used to send everyone's programs. First off, we used to have a
Yeah,
team program, and then we've moved everyone to individual programs, which is great because right now that's super helpful for everyone who has different equipment levels and whatnot. But then we've moved to like a model where like our delivery system is not just like write out the program and send it to them. Like we've got, we're using like
yeah,
Google Drive, and that way all the coaches have access to it. And now we're gathering more and more
yeah.
data on the sessions. That's why I was curious
Yeah,
about the training log because we can use this as our
yeah.
training log now. And I was gonna ask you, my next question was like, other than the smiley faces, is there any other information that you collect within the
Well,
logs?
it depends. Like, if it was up to me, like they would probably write at the end of each session what their rate of perceived exertion was for the whole session as well. Um,
Yeah.
but like all my squats, like I started it a couple of years ago now, but um, with our squats and with our pulls, I try to educate them early on like RPE, like 8 RPE, 9 RPE, things like that, just to help people learn. It's easier for the strength lifts. It's almost impossible for obviously snatch and clean and jerk. Um, but so like they'll write that in there, and I've tried to educate them on like if you accidentally overshot and made it a 9, write 9. Because you can do that
Yeah.
same weight 4 weeks in a row, and you can still get better if it moves better and faster and with better position. Um, when I used to, like, it's funny you mentioned that. Like, I've rebuilt my spreadsheet to make it look a lot more attractive, and I've been thinking over the last few days is
Hi, Piper.
what would be the
Sorry.
what would be the data that I'd collect, uh,
Yeah.
and like what used to work for my like Sam also came to your gym a couple of years ago, one of my other lifters, um, and like I roughly knew for her that like I would track average relative intensity over the course of a training cycle, um, and that was probably one of the ones that I saw move the best. Is that like there are some people that when it's sitting in the 80% range, their lifts move quite consistently, and then there are others that when it's sitting in the 70% range. Um, but yeah, other than the smiley face, unhappy face, and neutral face, that's my main ones.
Yeah, because we're moving. I think we're going to move towards that. We use a difficulty rating system right now. So, like 1 out of
Yeah,
10, 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10. But we're going to change it to like, hey, that was super easy. Hey, this was
yeah,
okay. This is really hard. And like a 5
yeah,
rating system because then it standardizes it. Because the difficulty rating as well is kind of hard. Like I've got lifters, like for example, Zofia, she'll rate, like me and Steve, one of our coaches, were talking the other day, and she'll rate something like a 3
yeah.
out of 10. And I'll go look at the video and I was like, that
You're
was a
dying.
grind. Like, that's,
Yeah,
7.
and that's the hard part is also educating people on like what is tough and what's not tough. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, like I've been working on it now. It's like I'll split my exercises into like how we would coach them: main lifts, strength lifts, and then accessory lifts. And so like 8 RPE for a back squat, from my perspective, is very different to like 8 RPE for like a split squat or for a like a lower skill movement. Because like you could start losing position on a back squat to the point of it's not going to really carry over to your main lifts. And so I would say that like the RPE raises on that a lot faster. Whereas the other day, like people use that same mindset on their accessories. So like they lose position by like the smallest amount, and they're like, "Cool, my set's done." So the other day, I had everyone before we closed down. I had everyone jump around for like dumbbell split squats, and go, "Cool, all right. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna get Ash to do a set of 12. A set of she's just gonna go until she's got 2 reps left in the tank. And then Ash is going to tell me when she has 2 reps left in the tank. I'm just going to show you guys a little trick. And she's like, cool, I've got 2 reps left in the tank. Excellent. Can you do me 6 more? So she did 6 more with the exact same form. Gets to the end of it. How many more do you reckon you got now? She's like,
Yeah.
I couldn't do another one. Okay, do 3 more. So she does 3 more. And so just to be like, cool guys, so for your accessories, you're all taking it too easy. Like I need you dying. Like true 8 RPE is like gun to your head, could you do 2 more reps? Not like, yeah, I think I could do about 10 more. And that's hard as well, because as a coach, you got to be like, so that's why I've been trying to like, do I then move my accessories to reps in reserve? And then do I keep my strength lifts
Yeah.
as RPE? And then just use percentage guidelines for my mate. It's always this forever like, what's working best now? And what's the quickest way to educate someone when they first walk into your gym? Because it's kind of like CrossFit when they first walk into our gym and they're like, we have, like 5 sets of 2, and then it says B or H in our programming. And then it'll be like the goal of the exercise. So if it's like speed underneath the bar, it might be like 5 sets of 2, B, um, speed underneath the bar. And B stands for build, H stands for hold. So build means like you can build across the sets if you're feeling really good. You don't have to, but there's an opportunity there. And then hold is, I don't care how you're feeling. When you get to your weight, you hold that same weight for the 5 sets. But
Yeah.
when someone first walks in, they see our whiteboard and it's like, what the hell am I looking at? Like they got no idea what's kind of going on. So that's the hard part as a coach. It's like, cool, we've come up with this system that makes sense to us coaches. Now, how do we really easily upskill someone who's never done weightlifting before? Sorry, my pocket has dialed me. There we go. Keep going. Listening to
Yeah, I could just hear that coming through my earphones. It's like,
yeah,
what's
yeah.
going on over there?
Yeah. So that's the
No,
hardest part. It's like as a like when you're I think like the business owner, it's like, what's my easiest way of upskilling someone to the point of they feel confident and they feel like they can, like, that's why the training diet for us works relatively well. The only downside that I don't like about phones is that when they go to their phone, if there's a notification, they've gone to just double check the percentage, and now they're in Facebook world for the next 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, which is when we're coaching athletes in person, is kind of easy to be
Yeah.
like, hey,
Yeah.
off your
100%.
phone. Whereas now, like I'm the worst at it. Like you've been
Yeah.
watching my training sessions some of these days, and I'll be there just talking like this for like 10 minutes in
Yeah.
between sets, mainly because like I've got
Yeah.
nothing
Your
else to
session can
do.
take 2 hours. It's fine.
Yeah, which doesn't mean that you should.
No,
Just because you can
not
do
at
something
all.
doesn't mean you should
No.
do it.
Especially like as a coach, if you've written like the stimulus to be the fact that the rest periods are getting shorter and they're taking longer rest periods, makes the program null and void. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you write in a lot of like timed rest and timed work
Yeah, like
sets?
if I'm doing like a general block where I'm trying to like increase their work capacity or something like that, I'll probably get them doing like every 90 seconds or every 2 minutes, or sometimes every minute on a minute. I'll give them EMOMs. But if when I get to the strength lifts, I also try to educate. Like we've got stools all around the gym, and because most people have come from CrossFit
Yeah,
where they're used to
they're
no,
not used to
I'll be
sitting
like, hey,
down.
there's a seat there. Feel free to sit down. I used to have, when we were smaller, I had all these small magnetic timers that people could just like kitchen timer, push 2 minutes, push the button, and they could chin wag for 2 minutes. And when they heard the beep, they'd go back to training. Um, but
Yeah.
most of those are broken now. And so now I just have to constantly remind people, like, how long have you been resting for right now? Like, oh, 2 minutes. It says 60 seconds. Get back on the bar. Like, yeah.
No, that's great. What's really funny is like the conversations that you're obviously having with your coach are like super similar to the conversations that we're
Yeah.
having at Raw. Like with like we've been discussing like is it better to do like reps in reserve? Is it better to do all these things? So it's just so weird that they're happening at the
Yeah.
same
Well, I mean,
time.
it's one of those things of like you weight. The thing I love about weightlifting is like really good weightlifters, especially from like a technical standpoint. Really good weightlifters are probably going to find a way to improve, even if they've got an average coach, right? Like they just whether they're people say that they're natural, but I would assume that that same person also spends more time watching videos and assessing how they move and watching themselves. And so, like as a coach, you want to you want to encourage this like constant learning. Like, you don't want to be like, cool, go until I say stop, because that involves so much time on your behalf. And then when you're not there, that person can't get better. Like, I feel like this whole
Yeah.
isolation thing, most people have, from our club anyway, have done really well in like their weight selection when I'm not there, or when Grace isn't there. And I think that's because we have had those conversations with them as like reps in reserve or RPE, or and like educating them over that, because you want to build someone that, like, they can leave your gym and they can train on their own. Like when they go to someone else's gym, they just choose not to because they froth training with the team that you've created. And that's the hard part. It's like, what's the easiest way to upskill someone? What's the easiest way to build their confidence so that they don't feel like this is too much to learn? Like, all I wanted to do was lose a little bit of weight. Why am I having to learn about RPE or percentages or whatever it is? And so it's like, how do you slowly progress them? Like, cool. So they're at like level one. So all I want you to do for the next 2 weeks is I just want you to buy a training journal. If that takes you 2 weeks to buy it, that's perfectly fine. And then normally, because they see everyone in our gym with their books, 2 days later they're back in the gym and they've got their book. All right, cool. So let's teach you
Yeah.
how do we fill it out. Now I don't want you to worry about what the board says. I'm just going to tell you everything for now. In about 2 or 3 weeks' time, I'm going to stop telling you what all this means, because by then you'll know. Um, and that's the hard part. Like, as a business owner, it's like, how do you get someone bought into the process? Because the people that buy into the process are the ones who will continually make improvements.
No, that's
Yeah,
really cool. And that
yeah,
makes sense. It's the same way I got into smoking. Everyone else was doing it, so
yeah,
I just decided to start
yeah.
too.
It's like it's the cool thing to do. So it's like peer pressure 101.
Yeah. Um, what else did I wanted to ask you about? Wait, have you done? Are you doing this online competition as
Well,
well?
I wasn't going to do it as in properly, but I will sign up and I will put videos in. I'll do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you better. I mean, if you're making all those
I
gaming
know. It's
videos,
like,
you might as well just use that
and
as
like,
your.
it's funny. Like, I have a sneaking suspicion that like it'll start. I have this conversation with a lot of like gym owners, weightlifters in Australia as well. Like, um, I think that we can learn from like that conversation we're having with Michael Noonan. I think was a really good conversation in that debates thing. Um,
Yeah. So for those that don't know that are at home, there's a weightlifting group for coaches in Australia on Facebook that only coaches
mm,
are really in. And it includes like coaches and people that are in admin roles and things like that. And there is a lot of old guard there, so like people that have been in the sport for so long, which is cool because us new lifters, new coaches are learning a
mm,
lot from them. But at the same time, sometimes you can see a little bit of that stagnancy or the reluctance to
yeah,
change from that guard too.
and that's the thing. I think that sometimes they'll and like it's like you want to keep the integrity of the sport, but you also don't want it to get left behind while other sports are adapting and changing and kind of evolving. And like, the example I give this, Josh would be sick to death of hearing about this example, but like, have you heard of a powerlifting competition called Pro?
Yeah, yeah, I know all about
Yeah.
pro.
So like, oh yeah, because you're doing all the strongman stuff, and yeah, so like that gym is like 2 minutes from my gym, PTC, the original
Mm.
Pro gym, and like my memory of it is,
Performance training
yeah,
center.
yeah. So like Marcos, I think, owns it, and like I remember one day I had to go train there, and I didn't end up training there. I just ended up talking to Marcos the whole time about like his vision for Pro Raw, and this is at the time when they'd just done Big Dogs, um,
Yeah,
and so like I was like, oh,
the first big
what's
dogs.
that?
The first
The
big
first Big
dogs.
Dogs, yeah, they just done. I'm pretty sure they just finished the first Big Dogs.
Can you give people some context to what they are? Because if they're weightlifters, they have no
So like
idea what this
Pro
is.
Raw is like and is basically they took powerlifting and then they eliminated some of the weight classes and created their own weight classes to create more of a competition. So instead of having say like 45, 49, and 55 for the females, they'd have a 50, and then all the females for that one, and then like 60, and then a 70. So they made less weight classes to create more of a competition, to create more of like interest, and more battles, I suppose. And
And then they threw all of their money
and they
into
threw
it.
all their money into it. So well, the first one was just like, I'm pretty sure it was just at a high school gym. So it wasn't like they spent a lot of money initially. But what ended up happening was I asked him like, what was your vision for it? And he's like, well, I got back from a big bash match one day and I was like, okay, this is the future of powerlifting. No one wants to sit around all day watching people warm up for, because the powerlifting competitions, I've never been to many, but they're quite long. We figured
Yeah, you'd be there the whole day.
yeah, so we figured out what's a way that I can get the crowd involved, make it feel like a rock concert, and like the athletes are really well taken care of. And so they did Pro Raw, and they did it for about 10 years, I think, before maybe it was maybe 11 years, 10 or 11 years before they created Big Dogs. And Big Dogs was just no weight classes, heaviest weight wins. So anyone could enter. Not really anyone, but like you could be a 100 kilo lifter going up against a 150 kilo lifter, and the heaviest weights win. And the first one they did, I'm pretty sure they did it at the Frank Sinatra Center, and he said he lost money on that one. And then the next year they
Yeah.
came back, and I think they added 10 or 20 grand to the prize money, and then they profited that year. Their live feed had
Yeah.
like 100,000 people from around the world watching. And then this year, or maybe last year, they did Big Dogs 3 and Wildcats, where they got the women involved too. And they had big prize money, and it was like a spectacle, right? It was like, let's get the biggest, powerfulest animals lifting the biggest weights. And but it's happened over 11 years, and it took a long time and a lot of money and a lot of effort to get it to where it is now. Like, he was telling me that Tony Doherty gives him that section for Pro Raw at the Arnold for free because they bring in so much spectators. uh,
Yeah.
and like,
Which is crazy because an Arnold spot is like a grand or two.
oh
And their spot would be even more than
yeah,
that because it's massive. The cage.
it'd be like a couple grand per square meter almost, like. And
Yeah.
so they get this huge caged off area, and I don't know, like, I think it just feels like whenever we've tried something in weightlifting, whether it be the barbell series or something similar, it just feels like people have gone out at 100, and when it hasn't worked, they've just stopped that first go. And so, like, in that debate, it was interesting because it was like, how do we? Yeah, for sure, we had stadiums of people watching it. It was on TV, and but how do we get back to that? And we don't get back to that by chasing what we used to do. I think we get back to that by making it interesting for people to sit down and actually watch. Because, like, I don't know about in New South Wales, but in Victoria, if they make a mistake on the times or people pull out, and they said the session is going to take 4 hours, but it takes two, and then there's a 2 hours sitting around to wait for the next session, no one is staying to watch the next session unless they know
Yeah.
someone in that session. Um, so it's like, how do you make a competition that people want to stick around and watch? Um,
Well, how do you make a competition that is is an event in the sense that people want to go watch it?
yeah, and like
People are excited
and
about.
that's why I think with Josh's competition, it's like, it doesn't matter how it starts, right? It matters where it is in 10 years time from now. And in 10 years time from now, like, it could have. I mean, they've already got a few New Zealanders. They had a guy from Ireland I saw on their page. Hey, can I join from Ireland? Um, like, it doesn't take much for something like that, as long as there's consistent effort of improving it over time for it to actually do something. And I think,
Yeah.
like, so yeah, I don't know. It's and I don't know how, because like my thing is like, we can't do exactly what powerlifting done, because I think that would ruin what Olympic lifting has in terms of like, I like the silence before the lift. I do like the yelling as well. But yeah, like you said, creating a spectacle. We've got a competition in Victoria run by Damo from CrossFit Westgate. It's called Western Warriors. It's a Olympic lifting comp, and every
Yeah.
year that small gym, which would be a little bit bigger than mine, it sells out every year. They probably have about, I don't know, 30, 40 lifters, so not a lot of lifters, but they would have about 200, 250 people cram into this tiny gym to watch Olympic lifting. Like,
That's
more
amazing. That's like more than
more than
nationals.
nationals. And like, not only that, like, it's something like, he's the owner of it is on the decks with a microphone in his mouth. He's this Irish loud guy. He's this awesome character. Um, and like, if someone like, it's definitely not what you would want to see at a weightlifting competition. But I remember 2 or 3 years ago, a guy missed a jerk and then accidentally re-racked it, and he's picked up the microphone
Yeah.
and gone, "Fucking go again." So then the guy picked up the jerk again, missed obviously. Um, like that like that low barrier to entry for like that's how my first competition was a no non a non-sanctioned meet, and it was just electric. And then I went to a normal competition and I wore the ugliest reddest suit you've ever seen, and it was like
Why are they all red?
I loved it, but it was no one else did. Um, so it's yeah, it's like even I think in my first competition there was no music, and so you're walking out and you got these golf claps. I think the crowd there was like 30 people in the crowd and 20 were from my CrossFit box because their coach was competing in a weightlifting competition. So it's like how do you bring that excitement back? Because I find the sport, I'd go and sit and watch nationals by myself and watch session after session, lift after lift, like filming for the weightlifting platform at this year's Oz Open. I loved every minute of it. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm a diehard of the sport. Like, I love if there's someone snatching 25 kilos and they're versing someone snatching 26. I think that that's awesome. Uh,
Yeah, the battle is what gets you
the battle is the
involved.
best part, and I think sometimes like everyone has this assumption like, oh, if the Olympics goes away, there's no weightlifting, and I think that's absolute rubbish. Like the the reason why I enjoy watching someone battle it out, it's irrespective of the weights. Like everyone remembers the Ilya battle where he came out and win on his third attempt in Kazakhstan in front of a hometown, but you also remember those battles at state championships where it's like the guys in the 61s are snatching 55 kilos each, and it's like a battle in the last clean and jerk to take home the state championships. And yes, 20 years ago there were 55 kilo guys snatching 120 kilos, but like you don't sell that. You don't sell the heavyweights. You sell the battle. You sell the process. Like that's what gets people into your gym. Um, Not like, oh, look at this small Chinese guy snatching 176 kilos. Like it's cool, but people can't relate to that.
Yeah,
So like it's oh,
that's all
yeah,
right. We'll just start that again. Yeah, I'll just start it
yeah,
again. Um,
live feed.
but you can keep call. You can keep
Yeah.
talking,
So like yeah, it's
and you just have to join again. Yeah. So like, it's really is it's almost like the story. That's what gets people. The personalities.
100%.
If you can
Yeah.
get people involved that
Yeah.
way, then they're gonna be into it. And you know what? Like, that's part of the reason I started this was so that I can like talk to
Yeah.
people. Um, and then to further on onto that is like who are the personalities, and that's what's really cool about what Josh is doing because he's giving voices to athletes and coach, well, not coaches yet, but he's giving voices to athletes where they can actually, be someone, and that'll open them up to opportunities to talk and become more well known, and then they can draw the people to their contests.
And I think it's like when we talk about funding and things like that, like that is what people will come and sponsor. They'll sponsor like there was no female fighting in the UFC until Ronda Rousey, until one personality came along and kind of blew it up. And I figure if you can have famous skateboarders and you can have famous like why can't you have an Olympic lifter with a personality like who has enough following behind him that someone's going to be like, yeah, I'll put 10 grand on that because he has a following of 200,000 people, and I'll see a return on investment.
And we do have that in other countries, like
Matty Rogers,
Matty
yeah,
Rogers, CJ Cummings, like they're all on six figures now.
100%.
Um, and that's just through sponsorships. And I'm not saying that they're not working
Yeah,
hard, but it's because their personalities within the
yeah.
sport.
And that's the thing is like, I mean, I think this is where like we could help some of the older guard is that like there are also Instagram people that are not good weightlifters that are making money from weightlifting. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm.
can't think of particular people off my mind, but if you have a following of a decent following with good engagement of 100,000 or more, there is no reason why you can't make an income off that. Be it making videos, producing ebooks, whatever it is, or leveraging your viewership on sponsors and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, like something like so. This podcast runs completely on
Yeah,
donations, but we every time I put up a podcast, I can make anywhere from 10 to 50 to $100.
yeah, it's cool.
Just off like us talking for two
Yeah,
hours. But like we only have like less than 2,000
Yeah,
followers.
yeah.
So if we had more
Yeah,
followers, we could definitely do more, and the athletes that do will definitely get more than that.
yeah. And that's where it's like it's interesting with this. Like, I mean, the more funding the AWF gets, like I don't think clubs like you or me will see any of that. And I don't really
No,
care. Like I don't need their funding. Like the reason how my business works is it works from building a product that people enjoy and want to keep kind of coming back to. Um, so and then like that creates people buying into the sport and appreciating sport and more eyes on or more bums on seats, so to speak. But yeah, I think this it feels like when you talk to some of the older coaches, they're always complaining that there's not enough money coming into the sport. And I feel like there's alternate avenues to make money. Like I think the coaches' education side of things, like there's a potential to make a lot more money off that with CrossFit being where it's at. There's forever physios, allied health professionals coming in that want to learn more about the sport and more about lifting. But it's just it takes people in the right places to create products that you could potentially sell. Like, imagine if you had the opportunity to create like an online course for the AWF that you could push out to like, they've probably got an email list of like 50,000 people who have like, however many people that have done the courses. Imagine you had that email list who were interested in a product that you would sell, how easily it would be to sell that product. Um, and so like now,
well, I have the courses already. I've written courses that I've wanted to do just like for my own
yeah,
business. I'm sure you've done the same sort of thing. So like there'd be a heap of us that have, courses ready to
even
roll.
like I talked to Leo Isaac a fair bit, and he'll build a course. Like it's funny, like but the AWF has a name, right? Like if you're the Australian Weightlifting Federation or even Vic Weightlifting, like I get a few people coming through the Vic Weightlifting website looking. They found my club through the club locator, um, and like so they have traffic. They've got a fair bit of traffic. So using the AWF level 1 and level 2 coach as a form of revenue, which they do, is good. But I feel like there's potential to make um, money elsewhere using, like, look at USA weightlifting. And I know that they say that they've got 20,000, whatever it is, members, but I'm pretty sure like 12 years ago they had 5,000 or 3,000. Um, so yeah, with this social media, I think there is a way to make weightlifting sexy. There is a way to make it to see what people like you and I see, and there's a way to tell a story that people can kind of get behind. Um,
Well, it is sexy. You get to wear lycra.
yeah, yeah. I can't wait till they bring back. I think I saw Shy Speed and Strength bringing back those old school unitards.
Yeah, well, I think those were the actual New South Wales
Oh,
weightlifting
really? Back in the
unitards.
day.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll have to ask Pete
Yeah,
that.
that.
For those that don't know what we're talking about with the like why you were talking about that stuff, a question was posed. What do you think? Basically, what do you think this isolation period will do to the sport of weightlifting? Will we be here at the end of
Yeah,
it or as a sport? And a lot of the replies were like, look, it depends on what's happening with funding and all of that. And then obviously that leads into what your reply was, is that, we don't necessarily need funding in that way. Like we can make money through other
yeah,
means
absolutely. Especially when you've got
as a sport.
you've already got brand integrity. You've already got brand awareness. Like you and I, no one with outside of our small communities knows what Raw Barbell and Iron Tribe is, but everyone in Australia that has done weightlifting knows the AWF. Like a
Yeah.
couple years ago, they ran a coaches symposium at Canberra. Did you go to that?
Yeah, I was there.
I was so disappointed because I didn't know that was taking place, and then I saw Josh put up on his Instagram the photo.
That's how I met
Oh,
Josh.
really? See, that could have been where
Yeah.
we met. This gets worse. And I saw a photo with him and Bigman Smolcers or somewhere, and I think Lindsay was there. Um,
Yeah, so Lindsay's like stayed with me. Like he stayed in my house.
oh, that's sick.
And then we drove up
Yeah.
together. So he flew down here and then we drove up together.
And so, like, I mean, how many people were there roughly?
Not many. It was like uh Vu, Vu from
Yeah.
here, from New South Wales. One of his friends, Lindsay, Angela, Miles, Leo, Brendan Kennedy, and I think that's. Oh, and I think did Rob was Rob there? I don't remember if Doc was there. Oh, the Halfs were
Yep.
there, Greg and Aaron
Yeah,
Half,
because Greg was presenting, was he?
and
Greg was
sorry,
presenting, was he?
yeah, Greg
Yeah.
presented. So Greg presented, Zygmunt presented.
Leo?
I don't remember if Rob Mitchell was there or if he presented. Um, and Leo
Yeah.
presented. Oh, and oh my god, I can't believe I forgot his name. Who's the most famous guy in the AWF? He just got on the board again.
Oh,
Not one of the coffers.
Ian Moore,
He's
president.
no. Damn it! This is gonna really irritate me. He was in USA weightlifting. Then he came here. Oh, he was here. Went to USA. Came back.
I don't know.
He's in Canberra.
He's in Canberra. Oh, yeah. Do you know what? He was commentating it. He's probably one of the most famous names in Australia.
Oh, this is gonna
Yeah, he's the
irritate me so much if I
head of
don't.
ACT weightlifting.
Yeah, he's like super famous
I know.
everywhere. Lynn Jones.
Yeah, Lynn Jones. Yeah, that's um,
Oh, that's embarrassing.
yeah. Pretend like that didn't happen. No one was listening. That's right. Um, so that's the thing. So you've got. So I've emailed AWF and be like, hey guys, just wondering if there's an email list that I can get on so that the next time one of these events is hosted, I could go. And the reply I got was, there's no email list or something. We advertised for it on Facebook, and
Yeah.
I was like, you don't do anything. Back then they did even less. They do a lot more now, but they didn't do anything on Facebook back then. Like I don't really see my newsfeed, or I try not to see my newsfeed anyway. Um, and they tried to advertise for something that they had an email list of everybody that would be actually interested in it. So like you could have
Yeah, there weren't many people there, and it was good
that's
value.
it was cheap too. Like you got to stay if you wanted at Canberra. You got food during the day, and you got like Greg Haff, who literally wrote the book on periodization. Zygmunt Smolcers, who at the time USA Weight was probably like when they still had Colorado.
The OTC,
Yeah.
yeah, the OTC was there.
And so you've got this list of coaches like myself who would actually spend a lot more money on what was charged, which is fine. I'll pay less. And they advertise for it on Facebook. Like you could have had like that could be something that happens every single year where you have this symposium of coaches come together, and that could be an income where you've got like imagine if 500 lifters from coaches or 100 lifters from 100 coaches sorry from around Australia met up in the same place. You had 2 or 3 head speakers and you're charging $100 a head. um,
I'll tell. Let me tell you something
yeah,
first, just because like I don't think you understand the true value of what we got. So it was like $300.
yeah.
It was free accommodation,
Oh my god.
free
Yeah,
food, so we didn't have to pay for
yeah,
anything, and it was buffet style, so it was like unlimited food, um, 3 meals a day. We rocked up. We got lectured to for like eight
yeah.
hours, where I was just writing notes the entire time, writing notes. In between those times, obviously, you got to rub shoulders with some of the most amazing
Yeah.
coaches. Like we're all eating together.
Yeah.
So afterwards, like Greg Huff maybe talked about, I think he talked about long-term athlete development. Afterwards, you could go up to him and just ask, "Hey, man, like,
What do you
what
mean?
do you think about this program, that program?" And then this is the best part. So because we were all staying in the same place and we were all staying at that, we were all up and like so we knew what time. Everyone would actually get together in the middle of the night and just talk
Oh
weightlifting
my
for
god.
like 5 hours
Stop
until
it.
3 o'clock in the morning.
That's what I mean. Like,
So like I would have gone just for that chat at the end of the day.
yeah. And that's the thing is like I
Uh,
spent $1,000 on a CrossFit course for 2 days. Why wouldn't I go and spend $1,000 for something like that? You know what I mean? Like, um, it's just bizarre to me. This like, and this is something that like, if with the right person in the right place, the AWF, um, it wouldn't be hard to put something like that together. I'm pretty sure the reason why they charged not much, I heard, was because they got a little bit of funding for it, so they had to either spend the funding or use a bit of funding towards it. But why not turn it into something that makes money? If you want to give it straight back to the athletes, give it straight back to the athletes. Um, but you can't tell me that there isn't 100 coaches that would spend $1,000 on something like that.
Dude, for sure. I mean, I ran like a coaches meetup like a year
Yeah,
ago, where I just invited all my friends. I made it free. I just paid for like beers and
yeah,
pizza, and that was like my test
yeah,
event. And I was gonna be like, okay, so if this works, what can I do to make this into like income stream where like I bring a whole bunch of coaches
yeah,
together to learn, and I'll bring a head lecturer in, and we'll just talk weightlifting for like a
yeah,
day. And I definitely think that even like, and this is what I was saying in that group feed as well, is like, look, if the AWF doesn't want to do it, that's cool. They don't have
yeah.
to. Like, if it's not in their, if it's not in their game to do it, that's
Mm.
cool. But we could do it.
Do it, yeah,
Like it could easily be, the weightlifting platform coaches
yeah.
symposium. Could
And that's what
be
me and Josh,
the Iron Tribe
me and
coaches
Josh were talking
symposium.
about that when we were in at at the Oz Open. Was like,
Yeah, I was super bummed that I didn't get an invite.
I thought you did get an invite.
Damage. No, not to the also. I was also busy at
Uh,
that time. That was when
you
Kush
were
was here.
invited. You said no. Classic Andy. Um, but
You guys look like you had so much fun.
we did, and like we would like we'd get home, we'd get back from there at 8 o'clock, we'd put the final few videos and touches out, and then we'd be like, all right, we better go to bed. And then it's like midnight, and we're still talking about weightlifting and all the things that could be done or fixed or what they're doing well. Um, and yeah, a coaches symposium did come up where like the first one you make no money on, but all the money goes towards the first lecturer, and you pay the lecturer or
Yeah.
something like that. And it could just be at anyone's gym or, but yeah, I mean, because like, I mean, Miles, you can call him, or if you text him a question, he'll just call you and talk to you about weightlifting for like half an hour, 45 minutes. Like, there are enough coaches in Australia that if you like, one time I messaged Leo and he's like, "Oh, this would be easy," because I wanted to talk to him about mental fortitude for athletes, uh,
Yeah.
and he's like, "This is too hard to text message. Call me at this time." And so there's so much knowledge within Australia um, that can be used. We're just kind of like, whatever. Um,
There really is. And look, I don't know about Miles and what he would like to do, but I know that if we just, I feel like if we just paid for Leo to come to wherever we
yeah,
were, and like put him up and feed
yeah,
him, and maybe give him a little bit of spending cash, like he would love to come and
for
lecture.
sure.
Like that's right in his
Yeah,
wheelhouse.
100%. And that's where it's like, it's funny. Like, I think I chatted to Leo the other day because I was like, just wanted a bit of help with some things, and like he said, he's building an online course, and he's like, "Oh, would you like to learn a little bit more about it?" I'm like, "Hell's yeah, I would." Like, but it's also like, I suppose, helping those guys, um,
Navigate
yeah, navigate it, because Leo would
this
also do
online
something.
world.
It's not getting released until it's like the perfect of perfect, which you and I would assume a bit more like, let's give it a crack, and then let's just evolve as we kind of go. If it sucks, whatever, we'll deal with it, and we might even still do it again. Um,
Yeah, you got to release the beta and just like let it
yeah,
go
and to see what people say.
and fix the
Yeah,
problems.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and who knows? Like, it's a forever conversation that I think younger coaches are having, and it's trying to. I think you do want to have, you do want the input from the older generation, but like, it's hard. I remember, like, I don't know about you, but the first time I ever volunteered for like, because like, I don't know if they do it in New South Wales, but like in big weightlifting, when you have athletes, after a while you just get, hey guys, volunteer list is out. Iron Tribes needs 3 people. This person needs these people, and whatever. And so, like, for my first year, we didn't have to have volunteers because it was just me competing for one club. And then as we
Yeah.
started having more and more, and I started seeing more and more people, they started asking us to volunteer. So, like, one of the events, I volunteered for the music, and I sat down. I won't name the person who I sat down next to, and I didn't know what I was doing. It was just an iPod plugged into the music, and I was like, oh, turned to the person. I was like, do you know how this works? And the person looked me dead in the eyes. They don't know who I am. They've been in the sport forever,
Yeah.
and they're like, if it was up to me, there'd be no music, and then look away. And that was all they said to me. And I had to sit next to this person, guessing if I was pausing or playing at the wrong or the right times.
I can't believe Josh said that to you.
Gosh, yeah, yeah. And then the thing is, like, I told that story to a girl who she was volunteering for the music, and then she sat down
Yeah.
next to a woman, and she asked, and this time it was a different speaker system, and she asked that woman, "Hey, I was wondering if you know how this works." And the woman looked at her dead in the eyes and said, "If it was up to me, there'd be no music." And so she came into the warm up room, and she's like, "Chris, did you just set me up?" I was like, "What do you mean set me up?" Like, she thought that I'd like that's when you've got that people like I've had even one of my other guys when he was doing the music, one of the judges yelled out at him middle of a song, change the bloody song. You
Uh,
know what I mean? Like, so it's like you're trying to like,
yeah.
well, we want more people in the sport, but we're going to tell them that everything they're doing is wrong, and we're not going to make it fun for them. Like, so it's yeah, I don't know. It's such a tough situation.
Look, I agree. And I think us fighting is never going
No,
to do it. We just got to gently nudge them in the right
yeah,
direction.
yeah,
Because we can take, like, just as, because, like, don't get me wrong. Yes, there's those issues, but also they've taken us under their
one
wing.
hundred percent. Yeah, true, true.
People like Rob Mitchell, Miles, people like Leo, people like who's another really well, like uh, Coffer loves Josh,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like like all of those people, they've mentored me, they've taken me under their
yeah,
wing, so it isn't very hard for me to be like, hey, actually, like, let's just nudge them in the direction of what we're good
yeah,
at
yeah. And don't get me
as
wrong, like
well.
I don't want to be that like that young whippersnapper that's like, this is you guys are doing everything wrong. We could do it so much better. It's definitely not. It's nothing like that at all. Um, it's like you said, coming together, working together, and like even like when Michael Noonan came back with a point, I was like, for sure, like I definitely oversimplified where I'm kind of coming from, and I don't mean to oversimplify it. But when you see stagnation, you feel like you said, you want to gently give it that nudge, and you do. Like I'm not one of these people that wants to change the sport. Like I don't want to. I think this. I think the sport is good. I think the sport's exactly where it needs to be. It's just um, encouraging, like you said, storytelling, and the weightlifting platform are doing that. But yeah, it's um, it's a conversation that I think every young coach kind of has, and like you said, like you put it really well, like you don't you don't want them out of the sport, and if they just turned their back on us when we first started, we probably wouldn't be in this position right now where we can talk about what we can help on the sport.
And the other thing is, like, that conversation that we had on that page, there was nothing
No,
negative. It was actually really positive. Like, they were telling us stories of old,
yeah,
which I was like, oh wow, you used to have, like, 1,000 people, 2,000 people at a
yeah,
comp, and then one year you only had 500 and you had to apologize, like, when you were running the sport. Like, that's crazy. We're lucky to get
50.
100
Yeah,
people at in an
yeah,
event. So, like, they told us really cool stories, and then we're telling them what we're doing now,
yeah,
that and we just need to find a better way of meshing us together,
yeah.
basically.
And I think like
And
I think that conversation, like you said, everyone wants the same thing, right? They want weightlifting to be bigger. They want the athletes to be looked after. They want they want to introduce as many people to it because there are so many people out there that would be amazing weightlifters, whether that mean heavyweights or not heavyweights, just people that it gives them purpose in life or gives them something to work towards that just don't even know the sport exists. Like you've got that guy that's like 5 foot tall that wants to be an NBA basketballer. It's like, oh, maybe you should come to the dark side, come and lift weights because you're, you know what I mean? Like, um, so yeah, I mean, it's like everyone wants the same thing, and that was what was good about that conversation. Like you said, there was no animosity, there was no like you're doing it wrong, you're a dickhead. Um, it's just, I suppose, like that conversation goes nowhere now. Like, what is the next step?
yeah.
Because like no one higher up, because we're all at one level, but there were. I'm assuming there was no board AWF board members in that conversation, was there?
No, no, no.
Um, yeah, but that's why I think.
Which is okay.
Yeah, I think that's where, like you said, it falls to kind of people like you, me, Josh, um, other younger coaches that have a bit of time to to help grow it in other ways. But it's just, yeah, finding the resources to do that where you're like, yeah, I got other ways. I got my community to worry about, especially in this time right now. It's like, how do I sort out my community first before starting new projects?
Yes, and I mean, like, so I want to be mindful of your time. Do you have like maybe 10
Yeah,
minutes?
yeah,
Okay, cool. That leads me to my next question, is because something that you talked to me about a week or two ago was, like what we can do as coaches right now.
mm,
Um, and the first week of lockdown was all about getting my members settled with equipment and training at
yeah,
home. Then week two's problem was like just making sure that everyone had programs and that they were kind of feeling comfortable enough to ask me questions and
yeah.
stuff, and seeing what the shutdown process would look like for
Mhm.
me. And then this week is just like, hey guys, settle in. This is going to be a long haul. Let's figure this out. But then in a week's time from now, I'm like, okay, how do I capitalize on the situation that
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
in?
yeah. So like I have a very similar plan. It's like the first month or so is focus 100% of my effort on my members and then the product that we're delivering currently. I'll be checking in with people. Are people getting the most out of it? Like we've already done our first survey. We're probably a week away from doing another survey just to see if it's improved from where it was at. Not that it was necessarily that bad, but um,
What are the type of questions you were asking in your survey?
so it was pretty much to do. Let's see if I get it up for you. With because we'd moved everyone to True Coach, and we'd
Yep.
started the online classes. And so what ended up happening was that have you attended an online class? If not, why not? And there was three options for that. How are you finding True Coach? Um, how are you finding the feedback on True Coach? How are you finding the current Zoom schedule? Because we'd actually minimized how many classes we were doing. Um, would you like the schedule to closely remember our old schedule? How can we improve our classes? How could we improve our feedback on True Coach? And do you have any suggestions moving forward? Um, and we have probably like 50% of people come into the Zoom classes. And the other 50%, I was worried about that number because if that was in a normal gym and people started to drop off, that's a clear indication that they're probably going to stop coming to the gym. Um,
Yeah.
and so when chatting with these people more and more, they're all completing their sessions, and some of them are actually preferring them because they can kind of do them at their own time a little bit. Like they would
Yeah.
definitely like. I almost foresee what'll end up happening is when we go back, there'll be a few people that will keep their home gym setups, and instead of training at the gym face to face 3 times a week, they might train twice at the gym and then once at home, just to help with this, especially people with kids and things like that. So that was pretty much the survey was to be like, how are we going so far? Cool. All right, we're going to do the same survey. We'll add a couple of different changes to it, but keep it predominantly the same to see if there's improvement. Um, and then when we're really happy with where it's at, then we'll look to potentially grow. And that doesn't necessarily mean like hard chasing or anything like that, but like we've already started with just putting out a little bit more content. Because like right now, the way I kind of see it is um, there's more people that will go into normal gyms than ever that have barbells and plates at home that have the time to learn movements. Um,
Yeah.
and so like my only fear is if you stay the same right now, there will be others who will slowly start to lose income. Just because if it goes for 6 months, like we've got hospitality workers and things like that, and right now they're surviving off holiday pay, but that only kind of lasts so long. So there'll be that natural drop off in some of the members. So it's like, how do you? Because you want to keep them training, so you're not going to stop them from training because they've supported you this far. So then what's the next step about, okay, how do you grow one and how do you grow while keeping your soul? Like you don't want to be this, I've seen already these online PTs selling fit fast programs and
I can't believe how quickly they came out.
it was really painful to watch. And I think, and even the people that started, continually training people in parks and stuff like that, when the rules started to change a little bit, I think people will remember that. They'll remember how you acted during this time. And like, did you hold up with integrity? Did you stay true to your brand? So it's like the kind of goal is what I'm doing now, will this be feasible when it goes back to normal? So don't create a new thing that you're just going to scrap in 6 months' time when it goes back to normal. And then, like, if there's all these people at home that are used to training in a normal gym, but all they've got is a barbell, they don't actually have machines anymore. How do they train? And so, educating them on like proper mechanics, what we do. Like, I'm not even going to potentially sell classes. I mean, we put a post up the other day with our schedule, and we had a woman from America ask if she could join a class. So that was kind of
Mm.
cool. She did an on ramp. That was cool. And that wasn't that. I wouldn't even consider that selling. That was more just to remind our current members, and also because I hadn't posted in a week because I was spending so much time focusing on our members. Um, so that's probably the direction we'll go. Is like keep doubling down on our current members, because if we stayed exactly where we are right now, we would survive. We would survive 6 to 12 months without having to do anything different. Um, but uh, not growing, I think, is almost just as dangerous as losing members too. Like staying stagnant it's a risky game to play. And with a young kid on the way, and we're going to lose one of our incomes soon. Uh, where we were before was a much nicer position than where we are kind of right now. Um,
Yeah.
but also my expenses have gone down. Like all I've done is buy 4 books off Book Depository. I haven't gone out for beers. I haven't, I'm not eating out as often. So, I mean, that's kind of the direction we'll take it. And it's also given me time to focus on, like, I've been building my coaches development course, which is like, I wanted to help my coaches on like finances, like the ins and the outs of the business, so that when they're like, oh, hang on a second, they've got 50 members paying this much money, they could surely afford to pay me more. Like educate them on the whole process of the ins and the outs of our business, because I don't want to be. I didn't get in it to make all the money in the world. Um, and then give them opportunities. Like Grace has been slowly coming on board to help with the remote. She had 1 remote client, so now she's got 7 remote clients. So she's actually potentially getting paid a similar amount, if not some weeks she'll get paid more because she's doing more work for me. And
Yeah.
that has been the goal. Is like if I can get through the end of this, and Grace's income, if anything, goes up, and the business is doing what it's doing, like that's a huge win for me, just confidence wise, and the fact that if I can survive this 6 months, okay, this is something that can work when people said it couldn't work.
No, that's really cool, man. And something that I definitely want to talk to you more about off air
Yeah,
because I also really want to support my coaches and do it in a way that I can whilst also supporting the business.
yeah, 100%. And like it's hard. I mean, are you
But
set up? I mean, you don't have to answer this online, but like, are you set up as a proprietary limited? Or are you set up as a company?
no, I'm a sole trader.
Yeah, which is devastating because if you
Yeah,
were
so
set, and I'm the same. I was literally 2 weeks away from I've been talking to my accountant for ages, but having that, if that had gone through, there's more financial aid um,
yeah.
for that as well. But it is what it is. Yeah,
Yeah, well, see, like the tough thing is like, well, it's I don't want to say it's tough because I'm blessed that it's actually like not many people can say that they're like blessed during this time, but like,
yeah,
I've had very little drop off
yeah,
in my membership. Like my members have supported me,
yeah,
and they're still training and still coaching. So we've only had like two that had to like switch off service,
yep,
and that that happened for different reasons. Um, so like right now, I'm not actually eligible for a lot
aid.
of financial
Yeah,
aid, even though my other job I lost income, and it's it's just a weird
yeah.
situation
And that's the hard part,
being a sole
figuring
trader.
out where you're at. Like, I lost the school technically. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
We've been in contact about potentially doing something remotely for them. But yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, we're probably the same. We probably lost. It's so weird. I had a weird 2 weeks before this happened in terms of like we had a couple of people pause for something completely different, and then when this happened, we probably had one directly linked to this that has completely left, and then we've had one
yeah,
who she'll still continue to train, but she lost all work, all forms of income straight away. And I wasn't,
yeah,
and I'm sure you'll be similar. Like, I'm not that type of person that's going to be like, all right, well, see you later, come back when you got your money. It's like, how can I support her during training? Because like training's an outlet. So I think for that, um, I don't know.
Oh, the amount of people that have trained at my gym for, for free in the
Yeah,
past is like, you know, and I mean that's the reason why we have so many people that right now will still continue to
yeah,
pay when they're not training, is because in the past that they've, maybe when they haven't had the best time, they've been allowed to do that. So now they're gonna do, pay back tenfold.
yeah. And like, I'm similar to you. Like having that outlook on like, um, it's a bizarre feeling to like when I can't even walk into my gym at the moment. It's so depressing walking into there. But if I don't look at the actual physical facility, like we're all still here. Like it's all still going. Like it's been such a, and I've put out a couple of thank yous in the group. Like I couldn't thank him. I couldn't thank him enough. And that's part of the reason why like uh, it gives me more of a drive to get back to that facility. Like potentially there are some gyms that will transition to online and will never go back because they've seen the value in staying online. And if you lose, $500 a week worth of expenses because you don't have to have a facility plus more, why would you go back? This makes me want to go back as a thank you to those people. Give
Yeah,
them that place that they can still call home. Um, and that's probably like the one constant that's been is like cool. Like there's no rush. There's nothing's changing in the next little bit. And like I saw, there's a. Do you know anything about Cressy Performance?
yeah, yeah. Like Eric Cressy's
Eric
gym.
Cressy's gym. So one of his top guys, Pete Dupois, I think his name is. He puts out really cool things. He put out something the other day. He's like, don't rush to market. Don't just quickly put out a crappy thing straight away. He's like, take your time because it's never been easier for people to kind of jump ship in the online market. So I like
Mm,
that in terms of like, well, cool. I'm going to put all of my effort into my current members now, into making the product better and better for them, so they feel like, oh my god, this has just gone up a level almost. And then as I slowly figure out how I market that or how I put it, what the next step is, then start putting out um, what the product is. Because at this stage, I don't even know what the product is. Um, so the plan for the meantime is to be like, cool. There's a lot of people out there that probably don't really know basic things in training, and I can instill that stuff in my current members, so I can create content for my members that then doubles up for people on normal Instagram. And someone's like, oh, I didn't know that. That's really cool. I'm going to follow this page, and then slowly over time build up from there. That's why I've been spending so much more. I like video editing, so it's been a bit easier to actually put that stuff together. The only downside is when I film in my shitty shed, it just does not look good. I can't do it. There's like furniture on the walls, and there's
yeah.
so that'll be the next step. Is like, how do I in saying that, what's his name? Kelly Starrett years and years ago was just doing it lying on his floor. So there's no excuse for not.
So that's mobility wad.
Yeah, mobility wide. Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, that's true. And people came for the content. They didn't come for the pretty background. We're just spoiled because we have gyms that we can
Yeah.
make beautiful. Like I like the other day I made like that little
Okay.
vlog of me
Oh
training
yeah,
in the new garage
yeah,
gym. Which my garage gym looks amazing, but the lighting just isn't as good
yeah,
as my actual
yeah,
gym. And I was like, oh, I don't like
yeah.
that.
Isn't it funny? Have you ever looked back? I look back. I've actually gone and unlisted some of my videos on YouTube the other day. It's embarrassing. It's so bad.
Oh, mate, like the CrossFit gym that we were at
Yeah,
before has worse lighting than my
yeah,
garage. So like I look back at some of those videos and it's like yellow and grainy and I'm
yeah.
like, oh gosh.
Even my like graphics, like I put up one. I looked at one the other day. I was so embarrassed. It was like me vlogging in front of, because my garage gym used to look sick. Like I was so proud of it before we moved into the facility. And there's me talking, and I'm like, I'm not even looking at the camera. I'm huffing and puffing. I'm like, yeah, so I wanted to start this vlog so that like no one cares, buddy. Like shut up. So you're right. Like we're definitely spoiled, especially now. Like back then, it was on it was on my camera. It was on my phone, and my phone was like an iPhone 5 or something. And now it's like I've got a 4K video footage. So yeah, it's funny what you become accustomed to, and you're like, oh, bugger it. If it's good content, people will watch it.
That's it. Yeah, and I look at stuff that I made like a month ago, and I'm like, ugh,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
terrible. And then yesterday I made a vlog, and I was like, this is crap. Like, it's a lot better than what I made 3 years ago, but like, I would do not want to release this. And then I put it up
Yeah.
anyway because I'm like,
And
ah,
that's the other thing is like, it's funny how many videos you put up. Like, I remember releasing one, I wasn't going to release it on Instagram, and it had like 75 saves or something. It had some crazy amount of saves from people watching. Um, and I was like, imagine if I hadn't have released that. Like, that one. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, what it's also the thing is, you're looking at it through the eyes of the creator, right? Like, you're never going to be 100% happy with it, even if it's perfect. Have you seen the making of a South Park episode?
have I seen a South
No,
Park
it's
episode? Oh
on
yeah.
YouTube. It's the making. It's like 7 days to.
Oh no, 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 I haven't seen that.
Oh, one sec. I'll turn this over here. It's called 7 Days to Air, and it's like how they create South Park episodes. Have you seen that?
No, but I know that they do that.
Yeah. So go and watch it, and like you see, like it's hilarious in as well. But like they one of the episodes. Have you seen the World of Warcraft episode of South Park? South Park?
No, but I
Yeah, go
can.
watch it. It's good. So before he released that episode, they were almost not going to release it. He was so embarrassed by what he was about to put out, and it ended up going on to be one of their biggest episodes ever. And I think that's what happens with people like you and me is like we create this piece of content and we're like, that's crap. It doesn't look good. The lighting's bad. And someone else out there that could have been the potential for someone to be like, oh, that was a cool video. Because like I don't know about with you, but with me, if I ever have someone sit in my gym, they've been following. Normally, they've been following. If they've been following us on Instagram, they've been following us for 6+ months, maybe
Yeah.
sometimes 12 months before they actually make the decision to walk in the door. So when they walk in the door, they already like feel comfortable. They already know what's kind of going on. And I always have to.
They're like, hey, Chris, like, we've been friends for
Yeah,
ages.
yeah.
And you're like, I don't know
You
you.
sound like you're on your videos, right? Like, and so I have to always remind myself before I stop myself from releasing content to be like, this one doesn't matter because it's going to be this plus 5 others that gets them through the door or gets them bought into it. Um, and that's how I always try to think of it. But it's just finding that consistency to release videos and content enough that people kind of come with it. Do you like that one, Damo?
So like the other day, I put that video up of just Jack trying to lift that barrel up over his head. Did you see
Yeah.
that? And that has been like one of the best videos we've posted in like a long time.
Yeah.
But then I took the effort to go cut up an old podcast, um, and do a couple of those things, and those things to take you like hours to
Yeah.
do, and like one person liked
Yeah.
it. I'm like, oh,
What is going on?
yeah,
It's also hard because like likes don't resemble anything, right?
exactly.
That video I put up about just the max out session. One of my guys from the gym just messaged me before we jumped on this call to be like, "Oh, there's three girls at my work who are super keen to come to the gym when this is all done, just from that one video." And it's like when I checked YouTube last night, there was like 3 views. So it's like, and no one liked the video. Um, so
I don't even know if I'm subscribed to you on YouTube.
it's pretty embarrassing. I'm so glad I unlisted most of those. My first ever YouTube video was my first ever
I'm
BJJ
gonna go
class.
subscribe now.
Yes. How hard is it to grow YouTube followers, by the way?
Oh, that's why I'm doing it now because
Okay.
I know how hard it is.
Um,
If anyone knows how to grow a YouTube channel, please reach out because it is the worst. Instagram I kind of get, Facebook I kind of get, but
247. That's big. I'm at 80.
who's that?
You're following.
Oh, on
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, but it's tiny. It means
Oh,
nothing.
119
Like that's.
subscribers.
I can't find Iron Tribe
My
Weightlifting. I
I
can't even
haven't
find.
even done Iron Tribe.
Oh,
That's probably why. I'm thinking, yeah,
Ackland.
yeah. Just get on TikTok. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's where the people are.
Um, yeah, it's
Oh, I like it. Weightlifting, strength, movement.
mate, that's
Iron
so
Tribe
old.
Weightlifting.
But yeah, it's I mean, now I've got time to kind of put into it, but it's so bizarre. Like, I mean, one of my views, yeah, I don't know. YouTube has always been something that frustrates the hell out of me because you can put so much time and effort into it and it'll be like 3 views. And you're like, what the hell? I spent like 10 hours on that video.
Yeah, like I can see this one that has like 6.1k views, which is a lot, 10k
Yeah.
views. And then you've got like something that I can see would have taken you a long time just to
Yep.
make, and it's got like, 19 views.
Yeah. Like that, the beginner snatch complex, that's in my old garage gym. That it was like had zero for like a year. And then,
Oh, I bet you wish you still had that now.
yeah,
That's a nice
it was
gym.
so good, man. It was the best. Um, so yeah, it's just, I mean, they're just sitting there. I think, I don't know, YouTube, and I always think like, oh, do I just create the Iron Tribe YouTube and then make my personal one, just my personal one, and just create blogs or something? But it's just so much work.
Yeah, I think it's always best to just have
Yeah,
one. I used to think like you should have two things,
so you could
but
only like on the page.
yeah, but now I just think like it's too much effort to split yourself up too much. Your personality is your
Yeah,
personality. It's you are your business.
yeah.
It has to be that way.
People buy like that's people buy you to an extent when they kind of come into your business. Eventually, they buy the community and the coaches. But that's why I've also been trying to help put Grace, yeah, put
Grace.
Grace in front of the camera a lot more. Um,
I haven't met Grace,
no,
have
not
I?
yet. No. So she
Because I met Josh's coach,
Yindi,
Yindy.
yeah. Yindi's good value. Um, but like, and it's cool. I had two girls helping me out for a little bit, and so Grace is still going. But it was so cool to be like me and Josh. Do you have female coaches?
I had female
Yeah,
coaches, so I probably had a Grace. I had Ree,
yeah,
and I had my partner's a coach as
yeah,
well. So we had
yeah.
two, and they both left.
I think it just adds so much value
Um,
to it. Like I think,
well, Steve's kind of a girl, so that's
poor Steve.
God. I hope you listen.
Um,
Nah, Steve. They're all our coaches are brilliant. Like Ash and Steve are
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
But I do miss having a female coach in the gym.
yeah. It's and especially like in something like weightlifting, I think like um, the we're a predominantly female gym. I don't know about you, but like I'd say we're like 70-30 female male. Um, and so like
Yeah, we're not like that anymore because we offer so much more than just weightlifting
yeah,
now. When we were weightlifting specific, we used to have so many. Like it was just for a long time. Jack and I were the only boys in the
isn't that
gym,
funny?
and now it's like there's a lot of blokes there because we do strongman
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But even then, there's in Victoria, strong women has just taken off as well. Like it's
Mm,
like I've always viewed it as like females are more likely to seek out help because they don't want to do it wrong, and they're more likely they don't mind getting coached by a male or female. But when they've been coached by a male for a while, it's always nice to have that kind of female touch. Someone's going through similar things to them. Um, so yeah, it's I like if I, we I took my first overseas holiday last year. We literally wouldn't have been able to do that without Grace. We had help
yeah,
from other people as well, but like she has she's got the tribe's best interest at heart. Every time we talk about anything, there's nothing that is like it's yeah, it's been such a blessing to have her there. Like so that's why that's the goal now is because like I feel like with gyms, um, typically what ends up happening is like the person comes in, they take average pay and no hours for a period of time, and then they either completely leave the industry or they leave to do their own thing potentially. Um, and so it's like, how can I build a business that supports at least one coach to almost a full time standard, or at the very least, they get just enough money that the hours are totally worth it. In that they maybe only work 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, um, and
yeah,
that either gives them enough time to make potentially another income from be it massage, personal training, whatever it is, um, or like who knows, a profit share or something. Because you don't want to like have these coaches like I don't know about you, but like you don't want to have a coach who's heavily invested in it just be like, ah, bugger this, I'm kind of out of here. And then
which is what happens because we can't afford to pay them the what they're worth a lot of the time.
Exactly. So it's like, how do you combat that? And I think like that's why like I think some of my conversations I try and have with Grace are around like finances and about setting up your business and about setting it up so that like she's a contractor currently. Eventually, I'd like to have her as like permanent part time so that she does accrue holiday pays and things like that, which is a risk obviously on my behalf. But if I can set the business up to a point where like maybe she does the mornings and she does say 4 hours, 4 or 5 days a week, and then a couple of like if the remote side gets big enough, that's enough of an income that she has the option because she's got her massage, whether she does 2 or 3 massages a week to make an extra couple $100, or if she's just like it's summer, I'm finished at 11 o'clock, I'm going to the beach, depending on
Yeah,
the life.
and that's okay as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. Yeah. So
Man, I want to come work for you.
yeah, yeah, I want to work for me. Yeah. So, but that's like, so it's like, how do you? That's why my brain always goes is like, and depending on which business books you've read, like, um, the E Myth, the guy talks about you don't hire tens, you hire 2 sevens as opposed to 1 10. Um, in my mind, my business plan has like one permanent staff member that works with me that they're equally as much of the business as I am and they're looked after. And then we've got 2 or 3 like assistant coaches that have other jobs but just really love the community and want to coach. Um,
Yeah.
because I don't, it can't. You obviously, as you know, you can't make money if you're paying your coaches more than you pay yourself, right? Like, so
Which a lot of people do, and to be honest, like I kind of do
yeah,
that as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Me too.
So we're not saying like you got to do this, you got to do that. We're still figuring it
Oh,
out.
and that's like even like I've been asked to write an article on business, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. What do you mean you want to write an article on business? Like, um, but like you said, it's that failing forward. It's like figuring out as you kind of go, um, and I'm super honest with my staff, like about where we're at and what's kind of going on, and like, oh, cool, we've just picked up 4 or 5 new members in the last few months. What class do you want to take next? Because I want you to be able to take more classes, or is there something else you see yourself doing in the business that interests you? Be it because I'm not building this to be the boss. Like I'd rather hire someone to do some of the back end stuff, and I want to coach at
Yeah.
least 10 to 12 hours a week because I love at least for the next foreseeable future. I love being on the floor. So it's like, where do I see myself going, and where are my weaknesses, and just put something because there'll be someone who like froths doing bookkeeping. Cool, you're my bookkeeper. I'll pay you less than I pay my current bookkeeper. Uh, but
Yeah.
it gives them they're still part of the business. Um, so yeah,
No, I get that. I really do. And that's the similar way I like to think about things, but I'm just not there yet.
yeah, and it's fine. Like I was
And
getting to the point of like making some big calls for the business in terms of becoming a company and doing all these things, and then this kind of happened. I'm like, God damn it! Like, what do I do now? Like, do I want to do that because it's obviously more expensive per year to do that? But yeah, it's just it's hard, especially when you see all these business coaches telling you the quickest way to 1,000 gym members, and you're like, I don't want 1,000 gym members.
yeah, like how do you make yourself sustainable and pay your staff in a way that is actually worthwhile for
Yeah,
everyone?
yeah, exactly.
Like the members need to derive enough value that they want to be
Yeah,
there. You need to derive enough value that it's worthwhile you continuing your job,
yeah,
and then your staff need to derive enough value that they want to stick
yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah. Because there's always going to be other jobs that
And
pay more money, and
that's
that's
it.
why I think like having potentially that balance of like, well, yeah, we can't offer you more money, but we can offer you a bit more of a balance, and then figure out other ways because like I said, when we get to that imaginary cap of that 100 or 120, like the gym will be making money, but it's not a boatload of money. And if I want to continue to pay my staff, then that's where we either have to invest more in the remote side of things, or courses, or the brand, or you know what I mean, like or the YouTube channel, but that stuff takes time, right? And so it's like right now the focus is on building the brand, building the business, um, and making it so that like you don't have someone for 3 years and they leave because they're bored. Like they're forever engaged in what your business is doing, and they're part of the growth with it. Like one.
Well, that's true. Like if you can't keep a staff member around for 5 years, how are you going to keep an athlete around for 5 years?
Exactly right.
You know, we talk about long-term athlete development. You need long-term coaches development as
Yeah.
well.
And that's the thing. It's like the I feel like when you see when athletes see coaches jumping from gym to gym, they're like, "What am I missing here?" Like, if I've had three coaches come and go in the time that I've been here as an athlete, is there something that I don't see? Like, and people start to question that. So
Mm.
yeah, but it's an interesting. Like, I wouldn't change it at all. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, what would you do differently?" I'm like, I don't know. Nothing. I still feel like I'm finding my feet, and we're technically 4 years old, but I feel like we started 6 months ago.
Yeah, no, I get it. I I feel the same way, and you know, like I've made terrible staffing mistakes and whatnot. Like I've ruined relationships.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, taken people for granted, and I'm trying to be
yeah,
better. I, like you said, I'm trying to fall
yeah,
forward
yeah.
and get back up.
And what was it? It's funny. The second episode you did with Scott, that most recent one with Scott Wilson,
Oh
that
yeah,
was like a, not a kick in the gut, but it was so good to listen to because it reminded me of like where I want to be and like to not um, to yeah, like it was such a good episode. For me, it was inspiring to keep kind of going. And I know he'll continue to coach and he'll continue to be the best he can be. But yeah, having the kid on the way at the same time, I was like, oh my god, what's happening? um,
yeah. Like it probably rang true for you
yeah, it
in a
rang super
lot.
true. And because like sometimes like like I have heaps of skills in that like um, I could go get a job doing any type of laboring job and
Oh
make the
no,
money that I'm making now. Um,
yeah,
but like I kind of foresee that like in 20 years time, even if business does work, if it doesn't work, I'll probably always coach weightlifting. Like I enjoy spending that time trying to help people get better. Um, yeah, so it's I might as well do it in a position where I get to dictate the hours that are worked and stuff like that.
yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Sorry, we just lost the Instagram live. So Chris has been super um, professional, and he's you know kept talking, and I've just gone off the rails and freaked out, and I don't know what I'm doing
It's just
anymore.
gone crackly as well. Your mic.
Oh, like is that better now? I was just moving around a lot.
No, as in like the actual your voice is crackly on the Zencaster.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? Maybe I pulled it out. Is that better again, or is that crackly
still
still?
crackly.
Oh, I don't know. What about that?
Same.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how to fix that now. Um,
Hopefully.
but yeah, like maybe this is probably a good time to
Yeah,
to start finishing up then.
100%.
All right, so dude, first off, thank you. Can you still
Yeah, I
hear
can
me
still
though?
hear. Yeah, I can make it out. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Thanks so much for joining me, man. Where can people find
My
you?
pleasure, man. So Facebook, Instagram, Iron Tribe Weightlifting. My personal Instagram is just Axe, Ackes. Yeah, I mean, always open to talk about weightlifting or anything, pretty much, really, as you could probably tell by this podcast.
Oh, dude, it was a lot of fun, and this was an experiment for us both doing this live
Yeah,
podcast. So maybe we'll do this a couple more times over this isolation
yeah.
because
See how it's
I
tracking.
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Um, guys, Chris also offers like online programming and stuff, so feel free to hit him up if you need some help with your lifting. He's doing a lot of weightlifting stuff, and yeah, dude, thank you so much for
my
joining me,
pleasure,
man.
man. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, I'm just gonna wrap up and then I'll quickly chat to you after
Cool.
we
Sounds good.
finish up. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the RAW Barbell Club podcast. If you love this episode just like I did, please go online to the YouTube page, click like, click subscribe, click that little notification bell so you get to know when the next episode is up. If you want to follow us on Instagram, please go over there and click at RAW Barbell Club. Again, follow us, see what the team is up to, see what online stuff we're doing because we're not in the gym right now. If you're interested in getting coached by any of our coaches, whether it be in weightlifting, strongman, powerlifting, CrossFit, Supertotal, or any sport specific stuff, or even just general fitness and strength. We can help you. Just go to rawbarbellclub.com and you'll find all that information out. If you love this podcast and want to support the podcast, you now can. Making this podcast is so much fun, but right now it just takes my time, effort, and all the equipment that we use, and bandwidth, and all of that stuff. So if you go on to www.rawbarbellclub.com/donate, you can donate any amount you see fit to provide value to us, because we're providing value to you. This podcast is free, but we run on your donation. So if you do wish to donate, that would be really cool. And I'd appreciate it a lot, because that keeps food on the table and stuff like that. And keeps the microphone on the table. Is there anything else? I think that's about it. Guys, I hope you're staying safe during this isolation time. And again, just keep liking, keep sharing, and keep talking, keep lifting. That's the main thing. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye. Supersonic.